Thank you for coming and just joining with this project. This was actually Barbara Johnston's topic, and she would be the expert on it. And because she's in rehabilitation right now, you're getting my view on it. I'm going to start with a story, though. For those of you who really don't know me, I spent 27 years in the Air Force, and I raised my children moving around in the Air Force. And 6 years of that was over in Germany, and part of that was during some of the real conflict, wartime, so forth. One of the core requirements for military families, because they know you're going to have to evacuate very quickly at some point, is you have to have all of your critical documents in one binder or one accordion file or something, so that you can grab in an instant's notice one change of clothes, those critical documents, and evacuate. We're going to build on that concept a little bit today, beyond what the military requires. Because you think about it, you go, oh wait, I'm overseas, I'm going to certainly need my passport, I need to have birth certificates for the kids, make sure that we can actually travel through countries or get back to the United States or whatever that is. Well, think about what would happen, and I want to just discuss this and prep our minds for it for a minute. What would happen if we had to evacuate due to fire, earthquake, civil disturbance, whatever? How many of you knew people in California that had to evacuate with these fires? Any of you? Our daughter was in the one right next to the big fire, Chico, California, and starts with a P, Paradise, and which burned the whole town down, as you know, including the facility she worked in. It was a care facility, senior care facility, burned the whole facility down. They had to evacuate all of the residents, and as you know, many of the houses were burned. And then what they did is they cordoned off the entire place so looters wouldn't come in and try and take whatever was left. Well, to get back in to your own property, to your own home, you had to be able to prove that that was your home, that was your property, and you could go in there once it was safe, go in and try and recover anything that might have been recoverable after fire burned out. What do you think a police security cordon would require to get back into and prove that that burned vehicle's mine, that burned down house is mine, this safe box with all of my stuff is mine that I can carry out? What do you think they're going to ask to prove that, so that we know that that's actually their neighborhood, their ability to get back in again?
Driver's license.
Driver's license with an address that matches.
Like the deeds, a copy of your deed, copy of your titles.
Perfect. Exactly, because maybe they could drive out in one vehicle, but they had to leave a recreational vehicle or another vehicle or whatever. Because some of them had to evacuate with only 20 or 30 minutes notice. The fire was just zooming in there, and they had very little time to evacuate. We thought last year here in Diamond Valley we might have one of those. Is that a year ago or 2 years ago?
It was longer than that.
I lose track of time, but I remember very clearly standing out on my backyard and going, yep, I can see it. It's moving in. So we may have a fire that would force an evacuation. I know there's been some concern of civil disturbance that would force an evacuation. And so just having the documents all ready, the documents all in one place, one binder, one accordion file, my wife and I started thinking about this only a couple of weeks ago, so we haven't even got everything organized. So I'm going to show you the shell of what we're starting to work on. And before we get that far, I don't have internet access, so I would show you that already on dvutah.wixsite.com/prep, all of these documents are uploaded. So you can see the shell I'm working through right now. It's already uploaded there. I'll throw the video on there as soon as we finish the class. So dvutah.wixsite.com/ that's a /PREP prep, and you'll see the title Emergency Evacuation Binder with documents loaded there. So excellent start. What are we going to need to get back in again? Let's just page through this and see what kinds of things. The document that I'm going to walk you through is a Word document that I made from a PDF that Kansas State posted. And I've made very, very minor changes, but I wanted it in a Word document so that you could download a Word document and then modify it with your name, your information, and have it as a modifiable one. Because the PDF document didn't give the access to modify everything quite so easily. Well, let's see if I can get this just to jump. Name Emergency Binder Project, or change it to say Emergency Evacuation Binder, anything you want. That's the spine label for the binder. Or you can just throw it in an accordion file and make the front piece of a clear accordion file name what it is. So that's binder spine label there, as you can see. And then I'm just going to walk through the basics of what they ask us to look at. A secure location for the emergency binder. You don't want it where somebody, a visitor to your home, is going to pick it up, because you've got copies of land, property, copies of vehicle registrations and titles. You've got a lot of information in here. You'll see it as we go through it, how much information is in this binder. So it needs to be somewhere secure. Make sure your family knows where it is. And if you're like us, we don't have family that lives close by. I'm going to tell a neighbor or two where it's at, somebody I trust, and so that if I happen to be at work and we're being evacuated, I can call them and say, "Do you know where that binder is? Do you mind grabbing it on your way down the hill? Because I can't get back there." You know, so there's at least a backup on that. Number 3, let me see if I can get that a little better focus for you. I thought it was some focus, but I needed. The third bullet there, grab it and take the binder with you. That's kind of a duh. Why did you put it together? You need it with you. That's the whole reason. So here's what you started alluding to. The documents in the binder prove who you are, what you own, and they'll help with a plan so that you meet family in an emergency and you have a set location to meet them. And those were key elements that were in our military one also, that actually were, you got to know where to meet and have the things with you so that you've got proof of who you are. Because this is yours, it has pet pages, it has elder care pages, it has pages that you may not need, but they included the options there, so delete the ones you don't need. They're just in the binder. This binder says if you don't already have a will, a trust for your property, those kinds of things set up, now's a good time to make sure that's done. My wife and I finally, just a couple months ago, put everything we own in a trust so that our kids don't have to do the probate fight if we both passed away in a car accident or a fire or what. That note, it's brought up later, but I'll mention it right now. Have some way of having a zipper pocket in there so you can put USB drives, something to store all of those other pictures of what you own. A copy of this binder, which is roughly 30 pages on USB, so that if you didn't have a printed copy with you, you've actually got it. The other idea that Barbara mentioned when I chatted with her, she said, once you've finished it, put a password on it in a Word document, email it to yourself so that it's on whatever device you're on. You've got the ability to download it again. And that way, if you happen to get out the house without it, you've got all of what's in here in one place in your email. And that's their note here. Scan the pages to put it on a USB drive. Well, you won't need to scan it if you use this shell. You can just put everything in one document. If the power is out, you will need paper copies. Yes. Hopefully you can have a paper binder, but you want a backup of that. And then their final couple of notes is don't go into debt to make this done. Financial preparedness is just as important as emergency preparedness. So as we've been going through the last 2 years of emergency preparation stuff, I don't know about you, Clark, have you learned something about every class? I have. I've learned something in every class, and I've been to all but one that we were on the road. And I've purchased a lot of little odds and ends from those classes and done something after every class. So we've got on the website now 2 years worth of classes of preparedness, all the way from water to food to how to can, how to take care of chickens, clear through herbal preparation, how to survive without your medications if you're evacuated, dental survival. We've had so many different topics, and every couple of ones I've put another few $100s into preparedness. Make it fun, do it with the family, do it a little bit at a time. So the things we're going to talk about, here's the major areas: vital records, financial documents, insurance documents. You'll see this as we go through. Your 72-hour kits and any other things you need. So those kinds of information. Your household inventory, your family emergency plan, how you're going to communicate, where you're going to meet. You'll see these as we go through. And then any online links to emergency preparation are at the very end of this. So at the bottom of that page, it says, review this book once a year. Most recent review. Put a date on it so that you know that it's current. And anybody who's done documentation that needs to be updated automatically thinks of that. Oh, I need to get that out every birthday or whatever event you're going to tie that to, so that you remember to review it every year. All right, what goes in your vital records area? I want to see that. Oh, there it is, right there. Any documents that prove your relationship. That means marriage certificates, adoption, foster care, birth certificates, divorce decrees, drivers. So anything that proves a relationship, because you need to be able to prove, yes, these 4 children belong to this family, or this elderly parent that I'm taking care of is also part of the family. Whatever relationship proof you need there. Yes, driver's license copies ought to be in this. You're hoping you've got it in your wallet or your purse, but we need to have a copy so you can get to that license number if that wallet or purse has been lost, stolen, or otherwise. It's in a second place you can get to.
So generally, these are the original records.
These are almost always copies. For us, we're going to do only copies in this binder. with the maybe the exception of vehicle titles or something like that, where I don't want to have to chase for two. But my vehicle titles are all in a fireproof lockbox in the cellar. I may leave it there, and I may just put a copy in here so that I've got the ability to get a replacement copy if that were to get burned down or something like that. So make a decision based on the best thing. But if you're like us, you've probably got all those critical documents in a fireproof box already or something. Funeral prearrangement. Passports, school records, so security cards, wills, living trust, living wills, anything like that need to have at least a reference. Our trust is that thick. I don't know if I'm
going to say wall.
That's 300 pages or something like that. That's going to go on a USB inside of it. I don't know that I want to tie it together, but maybe. But if I'm evacuating with a 72-hour kit on my back, that 5-pound or 6-pound binder is not going in that backpack. Okay, so that's the vital records area. Any comments that we may have missed in this area? A little note at the very bottom of that, it says, make sure you copy the front and back if that document has a backside that has vital information. Don't forget the backside as you're including copies in here. Here's an interesting one that you might feel a little uncomfortable with. Financial documents. You'll notice in just a few pages here, it's going to ask you to put all your passwords to your bank accounts. You better have that password protected somehow so that it's not in a binder where everyone's got full access to all of your information. But we already mentioned a few of these: property, any deeds, vehicle registration and titles, your checking account information, complete with full sign-on information. Well, how are you going to protect that so that it's not at risk? Your saving account information, your credit card information. How many of us, if we lost a wallet, right now, I would have to contact the bank because I don't have those credit card numbers written down somewhere. That needs to go in here, that 800 number that you would call to try and get a credit card reissued or whatever. Any loans, student loans, car loans, any kind of loan information needs to be in your financial documents. Your mortgage information, your investments, your retirement information, and then it says passwords to all of those. An income tax return. Again, how thick are yours? Mine are going on a USB drive. There's no way I want to carry a whole income tax return. But that's a critical piece of information if you're out somewhere.
That's how many years back would be.
What's the law? 3-7, I forget.
I kept them for 7 years for so long, I don't know if it changed.
I think it's 7. I think you're right. I need to go check, see where my purge is right now, because it doesn't get done every year. But I think you're right on the 7. Property tax records, your credit reports, your paychecks, this wrapped around a little odd, your paycheck stubs, retirement information, anything like that is financial based. And then it has a page next so that you can just put this all in here. You can see checking and savings accounts, credit cards, loans, delete any sections you don't need. They just wanted to include everything so that you have a place to ensure you have all that critical information in one place. Same with investments, retirement information, and so forth. Oh, can I get this so that I can actually see? Passwords. My wife and I have a password protected password file. because there's so many anymore. I think mine is 16 pages long, single space. But it's helpful to have that. So if you've already got a file, it just needs to be linked or tucked in here or whatever, and so that you've got access to that. What would happen if you were evacuated, had no access to your regular computer, and you needed to get into some of those things to keep things moving?
I'll tell you one of my husband's passwords. He doesn't use it. HANCCNAL. And how do I remember that?
Cancel
And it's just, you just made it up. HANCCNAL. And I remember that. I don't remember my current ones, but I remember that one.
Passwords are so crazy. And if you let the computer do it for you, and the computer's down, how are you ever going to get that password? All right, so that's one area that is important. You mentioned this: insurance documents, car insurance, flood insurance, homeowners insurance, home warranty policy, any agreements and policies on HVAC or maintenance for the home, life insurance policies, medical insurance cards. How many dozens of those kinds of things do we have that if you were evacuated, or you just are moving or staying with a child or whatever, and you need access to it? It's all in one place if you've already gathered it together. Cat insurance, pest control, renter's insurance, just some ideas of things that would be needed. And then their note at the bottom here, I don't know if you can see that. Highlight items that you need to complete and then check them off as you get them done. Some methodology, because this is an editable document, download it and just delete what you don't need. And then you've got just those items that you need on there. All right, here we go. 72-hour kits, a work kit for students, a dorm room kit, a summer and a winter safety kit in your vehicle. How many of us remember to do that? Gloves, jacket, all the things you need in the winter with food and water. There should always be food and water in our vehicles. I'm afraid I don't always have enough food and water. If we get stuck in traffic, the 20-minute waits coming up and down the road right now, and going, I could have a snack if I remember to put a snack in the car while I'm waiting. Medical kit and a 2-week food kit. 72-hour, 2-week food, whatever. If you're going to shelter in place, your own home is preferred. If you have to leave, you're going to have to make sure that your home is secured, that you have communicated to someone where you will be, and that you're listening to all the alerts in our own area. So just being able to remember that you've got the binder with you, you've got the phone number of whoever you communicated with you. Maybe you will have cell phone coverage and maybe you won't. We're so spoiled now. When I was in the military, you get evacuated, it might be 2 to 3 weeks before an envelope gets through to notify somebody that you landed in such and such a place and you're staying somewhere. Now we hope we get a phone call through within 20 minutes. You know, it's one of those impatient things that is very different. And then it says, make sure that your locations of your kits are all noted so that whatever that is, you can find, your loved ones can find, or a neighbor, if that's who you've designated, can find it and throw it in their car on the way out. And then it's got a list for 72-hour kits. I will not take time to go through that. You've all seen that kind of a list before. A list for potential work kits so that for my wife and I, when we saw this, we're going, oh, what happened if we were at work and suddenly we're locked down at work? We can't leave. We have enough food to make it through a couple of days. We have enough water to make it through a couple of days. We have a change of clothes at work. And no, none. You always assume you can always get back and forth. That was not the case in Paradise Fire. Once they were evacuated, they were gone. They couldn't get back to the home. They couldn't get back to where anything was. So just thinking through this kind of stuff is very, very valuable. For students, a dorm room kit so that they actually got enough to survive if that's where they're stuck. Summer and winter vehicle kits, look at that. An idea of how to begin a vehicle safety kit. And then a first aid kit in it. So, and you can see here that they've added the winter part of it to the everything part. There's the winter essentials in that also. First aid kit for the car. You've got pets. Oh, you just jumped over it. Then a pet kit so that you actually have what's needed to evacuate that pet. I have replaced this on the website. I can't get to it right now and show it to you. I may be able to open it from this. I put a herbal medicine kit so that you've got something to look at and go, oh, wait a minute, over the counter or herbal? I'm taking herbal. I'm not using over the counter because I know the herbs and the over the counter in many cases is toxic. So just look for that in the website downloadables. And a quick one-page how to plan a 2-week food supply, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks for 2 weeks, and just a planning page for it. And then non-storageable or non-perishable food storage. I'll read through. Zoom just a little bit bigger on this piece. Let's see if I can go. No power cooking, probably a good idea. Things you can eat without any power. In our 72-hour kit, we have a small sterno stove, or you can put a small propane stove in that 72-hour kit. Water filter, of course, pretty critical. If you're in place, make sure that your fireplace is maintained so you actually can cook on the fireplace if you have no other place to cook. Pack foods you normally eat, pretty critical. We don't need stomach upset when there's enough stress for other things. And specific to me and my wife, we have to pack foods that don't flare allergies. She has gluten allergies. Sugar sets me off, makes me sick completely. So absolutely no gluten and no sugar in that 72-hour kit or 2-week food kit. So match your own needs on that kind of stuff, where you've actually got a matched food list that works for you. You're going to have to rotate that food. So when you once a year review your emergency binder, you probably ought to have your food reviewed at least once a year, maybe every 6 months, and rotate it out. It says pick foods that may last a year and rotate. And that's about all you'll get out of most, even the freeze-dried or the dehydrated or the soups and so forth, about a year, and keep it rotated. it on.
I got some of those from Your Family Still Matters. Some of those little bars, you know, there's several different flavors. And so I decided I better taste it. And it's just like flavored sawdust.
Oh dear,
So I can't.
it's terrible.
But, you know, it'll keep you alive.
I don't know if it would or not. It might make you so sick you
Yeah.
can't tolerate it.
Flavored sawdust. So don't, but it's the package is so attractive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds like such a good idea.
yeah, and we went through our 72-hour kit so many times, and every time we go, are we really gonna eat that? And so this last time we traded it out, we said, okay, it's a year old, it's not expired yet, we're gonna eat that for dinner. I'm going, do I have to?
Yeah.
Would I really survive in that 72-hour kit? That's what all there was to eat. That's a really good question. Because we eat fresh almost entirely. It's out of the greenhouse, out of the yard, whatever. It's almost entirely fresh. Pack something like that. It's a ramen soup or whatever. But we ate a few of them, and we didn't get sick on them. So I guess we can survive. A note probably none of us have to worry about, but it says, depending on your family size, you may need to put that in a bucket or something with wheels so that you can actually move with it. Because that's a lot of food if you've got 5, 6, 7 children, plus pets. We added a pet thing on our 72-hour. There's another 5 pounds of weight to try and keep the dog with us. And then their last note on that, don't go into debt to try and build this. Obviously, you're not trying to create a debt while you're getting ready. And there's a potential food list for 14 days next there. Okay, number 5, household inventory. This is more critical than we think. There are forms on the next page, but we're just going to take a look at the kinds of things that are in here. Personal information form, okay. Maybe if your driver's license has everything on it, you may not need to fill that one out. A school, children, or pet form, so that you actually have all the information and can prove that that penny dog for us is actually our dog. And it's got a tag on it, and I've got information on it. Caregiver information. Are you taking care of a parent or something? Like we were up till last week. Then I need all the information on that individual I'm taking care of. Medical tracker, immunization records. Get a copy from your doctor. Make sure it's in the binder so that you've got proof of immunization there. And I don't think we're under COVID rules anymore, but we may need to prove that we've had those shots to be able to move through. So it may be important. Prescriptions. And then look at these next few things. Equipment, serial numbers, and photos. That includes anything that's worth proving that it's yours. Let's say you're evacuated, your shed is broken into, they steal lawnmowers and tractors and so forth. How do you prove that that stolen item was stolen? Photos and VIN numbers, serial numbers. And so that would be helpful just to show what's there. Are you in the workforce? A resume? I'm not either. I work for myself now. If those who are, they're going to want to have some resumes and document protectors so they can pick back up life, like my daughter, that her work burned down. There's no work left there anymore. She had to go job hunting because of that fire. Their house was outside of that range, but work was changed. A video or pictures of your entire home contents. and then combinations to safes and locks and spare keys and so forth. So quite a list of things to think about to prepare in the home. There's the personal information one. I'm not going to slow down on these. This is just an option for what that would look like. A pet's personal information with a photo. If you're the caregiver, the person, the physicians, the person that does the bath, and so forth. All of those critical numbers in one place, so that you can actually take care of them if that's the case. Medical information, known allergies, doctor's numbers, emergency medical information there. Personal information, medical, and it just says, they assume people are taking multiple prescriptions, so there's a place to note all of the prescriptions. I'll plug, that's what I teach all day long, how to get your body healthy enough so you don't need any prescriptions. Appliances, tools, equipment, any technology, model numbers, and so forth, so you've got serial numbers recorded. And then combinations to locks and safe. There's pages for all of that. Here we go with 6, emergency family communication plan. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Where are we going to meet? What kind of things are needed? Let me see if there's. Communicate with everybody in the family. Decide where specifically are you going to meet? What makes sense as a meeting place for everybody in the family? And then, as always, practice the plan. Probably once a year at least, so that everyone knows, oh, if we're evacuated, we're going to be at, and there needs to be an alternate at location. Because if you can't head north and your at location's Central or Pine Valley or somewhere north, you better have a south option in that at location and some way to communicate that everyone's going the other direction. We have a shelter plan. For us, we have children that are in the neighborhood that need to have an alternate shelter plan between the two of you. Maybe you say, oh, if we have to evacuate south, we'll go come to your place. If you have to go north, stop at our place. It depends on where it's still safe. And then it goes through some options for different needs in the household. Dietary needs, medical needs, languages spoken, those kinds of things. And you can look through it and just decide what's critical for your home. And emergency numbers, tying the whole household together, those kinds of things. So if you've got children that don't have an emergency evacuation plan, maybe it'd be a good idea just to send them a link and say, think about this and get ready for it. School children, emergency plans, just a place to put all that information. And then in case of emergency, contact information, a page for that. So I'm not going to spend time on these, just options. It's in the folder. There's the emergency meeting place, an indoor place, a neighborhood place, an out of the neighborhood place. So that you've got some options, an out of town place decided together so you know where you're going to go. And then important phone numbers, fire, police, poison control, written down. Are we going to have internet available if you have to emergency evacuate and be able to look up those numbers that we all have gotten used to looking up on our phone? Maybe, probably not. Probably no internet, so it's probably worth having the phone numbers actually written down that are either in your phone or you'd look up on the internet if you have an emergency. And you can see the breadth of this. Even your electric company, the gas company, those kinds of things to say, hey, we've evacuated and it was an earthquake. I've shut my electricity off, but can you shut off the gas from the outside? So it's not leaking. And those emergency numbers, those kinds of things that we probably wouldn't think of otherwise. Any friends, coworkers, that number. And then this final section, that's Kansas's link. There's FEMA's link. There's a Just Serve link, United Way, so forth and so on. Just options for us to go, oh, there's some emergency numbers that I can finish looking up. And then the last page there is labels so that you can label the sections in your binder with whatever tab method you do. We went through this pretty quick. Ideas that came to mind as we were walking through here.
On Google Maps, you can follow people. So like, we can see, as long as we have internet on the phone, see where our children are.
Well, that's true.
I think it's an excellent thing. Yes, other people have access to it too, but I like knowing where my children are.
Well, and especially if you had to evacuate, go, which way are we going? Are they headed this way and we're headed that way? Yeah, that would be nice to know so that you can get back together again. Because we'll always survive better if we survive as a family and as a community than we will if we get separated with strangers or whatever. So yeah, excellent idea. Other ideas, other things that keep in mind? As you can see from the complexity of this, it's not a one-day project. It's something you get started on and start checklisting. And just throw it in a binder. Even if you only get part of it done, we're going to be better off when we need it than with nothing done. And besides that, it's a great way to go, oh, I need to review my plan at least every year.
So with my son-in-law, everybody's joking since kids keep moving back home to my home. My son-in-law says, oh, did you hear we're moving back in? And I looked at him very seriously and said, well, just bring your camp trailer. And he was surprised. And I told him, I said, Dane, I want you to know that if something happens, I want you guys here. It will make me feel so much better knowing where you are and that you're safe. And please listen to your wife, because if you are inspired, if your wife says, oh, I think we need to take the camp trailer to my mom and dad's house, please follow the inspiration.
Yeah. And for those who have a camp trailer, excellent place to put a kit. That should be fully stocked with the exception maybe of water in the winter, but everything else ought to be there enough so that you could walk out there. It's full of gas, it's full of propane, it's full of ready to drive and or put hitch up and go and be able to evacuate in. Excellent idea. Again, combine it, put it together, save it in a single file or scan it, and then do something to make sure that it's accessible from different areas, which emailing it to yourself is one idea. Putting it up on the cloud in a document is a possible idea. I would suggest if you're going to have all your bank records in there, you might want to put a password protection on it. Something to password it. Thank you.
You tell me the website, everything is, all these classes.
Where we,
are.
yes,
Yeah.
dvutah dot wixsite wixsite.com /PREP for preparation. And